There's a bench on a quiet hill in the British countryside, and beside it lies the story of a dog so loyal, so full of love, she changed one man's life forever. Her name was Molly, a rescue with a crooked ear and a heart big enough to carry someone's grief. This isn't just a story about a dog. It's about love, memory, and the quiet kind of strength that never really leaves us. When you hear what Molly did and what she left behind, you may never see your own dog the same way again. If this story touched your heart, please consider subscribing to the channel and sharing the video with someone who loves dogs as much as you do. Because stories like Molly's deserve to be remembered. There's a little hill just outside the village of Cotsbridge. Not much to look at if you're just passing through. It's modest, more of a gentle rise than a real hill. But it holds stories. Some places do, you know. Not because they're famous or beautiful, but because they hold a kind of quiet, steady magic. The locals call it Molly's Hill now. Used to be Old Postman's Rise, back when things were simpler and the world moved slower. This one's my story, or rather, it's ours, mine and Molly's. I moved to Cotsbridge about 15 years ago. I was 35 then, single and drifting. I'd lost my mum that spring to cancer. She was a strong woman, quiet but full of grit. And when she passed, the noise of London, the endless swirl of buses and strangers and deadlines, it all just got too loud. I needed out, so I found this place. A quiet corner of Somerset. Cotsbridge isn't on many maps. Just a scatter of stone cottages, a high street with a bakery, a butcher, a post office, and a pub that serves warm ale and proper chips. Rolling hills surround the village, dotted with sheep, dry stone walls, and footpaths trodden by generations. Rented a cottage just beyond the main square, ivy-covered with a squeaky gate and a fireplace that smoked if the wind came from the east. I told myself I'd write something. Maybe finally have a go at that novel I'd been dreaming about, but the truth was I didn't write, not at first. I just sat in the silence, cup of tea cooling beside me, staring at blank pages and listening to the wind outside. Then came Molly. It was a gray Thursday afternoon. Rain had been falling since morning, the kind that soaks you no matter how fast you walk. I'd gone to the post office to send a belated birthday card to my sister in Yorkshire. On the way back near the red post box on the edge of town, I saw a little bundle curled up in the grass. I thought it was a discarded jacket or an old sack, until it lifted its head. She was tiny. A golden retriever pup, soaked to the skin, eyes too big for her face, ribs showing beneath matted fur. She didn't bark or whimper, just looked up at me like she'd been waiting. I crouched down and held out my hand. "Where's your mum then, love?" I asked. She sniffed my fingers and gave a tentative lick. That was it. I wrapped her in my coat and carried her home. No collar, no microchip. I rang the local warden, put up posters at the shop and the pub. No one claimed her. I took her to the vet. 10 weeks maybe, they said. Bit underfed, but she'll come round. I nodded, bought a bag of kibble, and went home with a dog I wasn't planning on having. I named her Molly. It just fit. Simple, lovely, familiar. The first few days she barely made a sound, followed me from room to room like a little ghost, sat by my feet as I drank my tea. At night she'd curl up in a blanket at the foot of my bed, shivering now and then like she was dreaming of storms. I started sleeping better with her there. Funny how some company doesn't need conversation. Soon she began to bloom. Her coat grew thick and golden. Her tail wagged like it was powered by joy alone. She had this way of greeting the morning, bounding out the door like every day was a gift she couldn't wait to unwrap. We fell into a rhythm. Morning walks up the hill, tea on the bench beneath the oak tree, afternoons in the cottage, me pretending to write, her snoring softly by the hearth. In the evenings we'd walk through the village, stopping by the pub where old Harry would sneak her bits of sausage and give her a wink. Cotsbridge started feeling like home, not just because of the place, but because of her. Molly had a way of making everything feel warmer, even the silences. The villagers loved her. Children would come running to see her, shouting her name as if she were a local celebrity. She was patient with them, letting them tug at her ears or drape hats over her head. She had this old soul calmness about her, like she'd been here before. Winters came and went. Snow falling soft and thick, the two of us trudging through it like explorers. She'd chase snowflakes and bury her nose into the drifts. We celebrated her birthdays quietly. A new toy, an extra treat, a longer walk. No fuss, just the way she liked it. She was my anchor. When I had bad days, and there were many, she sensed it. Would curl up beside me, rest her head on my knee and stay. Just stay. That kind of loyalty, unspoken, unconditional, it humbles you. As years passed, the puppy in her gave way to something gentler. Her movements slowed, her face silvered, but she was still Molly. Still my girl. Still the best part of every day. Then came the morning she didn't get out of bed. It was a crisp October morning, the kind where the grass crunches under your boots and the sky hangs pale and cloudless. I'd made tea, toasted some bread, called her name softly, same as always. Nothing. She lay in her bed by the fireplace, her blanket tucked round her just so, exactly how she liked it. At first I thought she was still asleep, dreaming like usual, but something in the stillness told me otherwise. I knelt beside her, called her again, touched her shoulder. Cold. It's a strange thing, grief. Even when you know it's coming, when the signs have been there for months, it still hits like a wave you never saw. One moment she was mine, the next she was gone. I sat with her for a long time. Didn't cry right away, just sat. The clock ticked. The fire hissed softly. Outside, the world carried on. Birds sang. Leaves fluttered down the lane. And there I was, holding her paw, remembering. I thought of that rainy day by the post box, of the first time she wagged her tail, of snow-covered walks and muddy paws, of the time she stole a whole sausage from the butcher's counter and I had to pretend I didn't know her. I wrapped her gently in the tartan blanket she always slept on, lifted her like I had when she was a pup. Her weight surprised me, light, too light, like a whisper of who she'd been. We went up the hill one last time. The villagers knew, somehow. As I passed through the square, I caught Elsie behind the bakery window, her eyes misty. Harry raised his cap. No one said a word, just silence, full and kind. I buried her beneath the oak, her favorite place in the world. I dug the hole myself, hands blistered, heart cracked open. Placed her there with her red rubber ball and a sprig of lavender. Said a few words, nothing grand, just thanks, and love. So much love. I carved a little wooden sign. Molly's Hill, in memory of a very good dog. Then I sat on the bench and drank my tea alone. The days after were the hardest. The house echoed. Every creak of the floor made me turn, hoping to see her coming round the corner. I'd catch myself saving a bit of toast for her only to remember. Her bowl stayed untouched for weeks. Her lead hung by the door, as if waiting. People were kind. They dropped off casseroles, sent cards, told me stories of Molly I'd never heard. How she once comforted a little boy during a storm. How she'd wait patiently outside the school gates for children to pet her. Grief didn't come in waves. It came in trickles, quiet moments, the absence of her sigh at night, the space on the sofa, the empty sound of my boots on the path up the hill. I still went, every morning. I couldn't not. The hill had become part of me. I'd sit on the bench beneath the oak and talk to her, like I always had. Told her about the weather, about the neighbor's new kitten, about how the leaves were turning gold again, and in that quiet, I swear, I could still feel her. Not as a ghost, nothing eerie, just presence, warmth, a rustle in the grass, the way the wind lifted just so, a sense that I wasn't alone. One day, about a month after she passed, a child from the village, Amelia, I think her name was, came up the hill with her mum. She saw the sign and asked, "Mummy, who was Molly?" Her mum read it aloud and said, She was someone very special. That hit me. Molly was special. She wasn't just a pet, she was family. My friend. My reason to get up. My reason to feel again after losing so much. She came into my life when I was broken. Gently, silently, she helped me mend. That winter, I took up carving again. Just small bits. Wooden signs, walking sticks, little animals. I made one of Molly. It wasn't perfect. Her ears were too long, her tail too short. But it helped. Gave my hands something to do while my heart healed. Spring came, soft and bright. Snowdrops pushing through frost. Lambs tottering in the fields. And with it came a bit of peace. I'd sit outside the cottage with a cup of tea, sun on my face, and think, not of the end, but of the journey, of the joy she brought, the laughs, the walks, the comfort. She taught me that love doesn't have to be loud. It can be quiet. A nudge, a look, a warm body pressed against yours when the world feels too cold. And though she's gone, she's still here, in the way I greet each day with a walk. In the way I notice small things now, the curl of a fern, the hush of a stream, the warmth of a morning sunbeam. In every step up that hill, she's with me. Sometimes I think about getting another dog. The villagers suggest it often. You've got more love to give, Jack, they say. Molly wouldn't mind. And maybe they're right. But for now, I'm content with the memories. They're rich, you see. They fill the house in ways I didn't expect. The world's a bit lonelier without her, yes. But it's also more beautiful because I had her. And that's the thing about dogs, isn't it? They don't stay as long as we want them to. But in the time they're here, they give us everything. They remind us how to live, how to be present, how to love without needing anything in return. Molly did that for me. And when I'm gone, long from now, I hope someone finds that bench beneath the oak, sees the sign, and wonders who she was. And I hope they smile, because Molly's story didn't end with her last breath. It lives on in me and in anyone who ever saw her bound across the field, tail high, eyes bright. It lives in this village, in this hill, in the soft hush of dawn and the golden light of evening. And if you ever visit Cotsbridge, walk up the footpath, past the hedgerows and the blackberries, and sit for a while beneath the oak, you might just feel her too. That summer after Molly passed was one of the quietest of my life. The days were long and golden. Bees hummed in the hedgerows, swallows danced in the sky, and the whole village seemed to slow down a bit, as if the world itself was catching its breath. Without her by my side, the cottage felt vast and echoey. I kept stepping over the place where she used to lie, still half expecting her to be there. Grief doesn't follow a straight line. Some mornings I'd feel okay. I'd make tea, toast some bread, sit on the bench on the hill, and breathe in the countryside air. Other mornings I'd feel a lump in my throat just looking at her lead by the door, still hanging there, untouched. I didn't take it down. Not out of denial, mind you, but out of respect. That lead was part of our story. It had seen every walk, every adventure, every muddy puddle and sudden downpour we laughed through together. And on the days when the sadness got too heavy, I found myself talking out loud to her. "Mornin', Malls," I'd say, boiling the soup kettle. "Bit of a breeze today. Probably would have had to chase your hat again." She had a little tweed cap once, stolen from a market stall by accident. She wore it for 2 minutes, and the whole village went mad with laughter. Never did get it back to the stall owner. He told me, it suits her better anyway. I didn't stop walking the hill, every morning, same time, past the churchyard, over the stile, along the stone wall lined with foxgloves. I kept her ball in my coat pocket. Still do. It's cracked now, a bit faded, but it's become something like a compass. As if holding it somehow keeps her beside me. And the thing is, the hill changed after she left, not visibly. No great shift in the trees or sudden bloom of wildflowers, but in feeling. It became sacred. I began noticing more. Tiny things. the way the mist clung to the grass before the sun burned it off, the chirp of a robin in the oak branches, the shape of Molly's paw prints, faint but still there in my mind. I started sketching again. I'd never been any good, not really, but I found peace in the attempt. I filled notebooks with drawings of the view, the bench, the ball, and always her. Molly had become a part of this land. And so, in a way, had I. One morning in July, I was sat on the bench sipping tea from a flask, when a lad I didn't recognize came walking up the hill with his dog, a wiry little terrier, barking at everything that moved. He nodded toward the sign. "Was she yours?" I smiled. "Aye, she was." "She must have been something special," he said. "She was the best thing that ever happened to me." We talked for a while. He was visiting his gran for the summer. Said he liked it better here than the city. "People say hello," he said. "Dogs seem happier." I nodded. "They are." Before he left, he turned and said, "I'll say hello to her when I come by." That simple sentence broke me, in the kindest way. I waited until they'd gone, then let the tears fall. Grateful, not just sad. Because she mattered. Still mattered. To strangers, even. Later that evening, I walked down to the pub, the White Hart. It was Friday, quiz night. Harry was on his usual stool, pint in hand, and Elsie was already complaining about the questions. "Come join us," they said. "We need someone who knows about rivers and Shakespeare." I hadn't been in for weeks, not since before, but I went. And it felt good. Familiar. Like stepping back into the current after drifting a while. They didn't bring her up, not directly. But someone had left a dog biscuit in the bowl by the fire. And when Harry raised his glass, he just said, "To good companions," and everyone knew. The thing about village life is, it holds you gently. Not with grand gestures or speeches, but in quiet acts of care, a doorstep casserole, a wave from across the green, a warm pint and a warmer nod. That summer turned into autumn again. The fields went gold, the hedgerows blushed with berries. I watched the first geese fly overhead, heading south. Always makes me wonder where they're going, and if they're as sure of their path as they seem. I wasn't writing much, not in the way I'd once dreamed of, but I kept journaling, recording memories, sketches, little observations from my walks. I found myself returning to the same themes: love, loss, time, and Molly. It was Harry, of all people, who said it first. "Should write her story," he said one night, wiping foam from his mustache. "She'd like that." I laughed. "Who'd read it?" "I would," he said simply. "And so would she if she could." So I did. I started writing about our days, how we met, our walks, the sausages stolen, the quiet nights, the muddy baths, the long summers. It wasn't polished or poetic, but it was honest. And it helped. Some stories deserve to be told, even if only for the telling. In November, I printed out a dozen copies and gave them to friends. I called it Molly's Hill. Just a little booklet, nothing fancy. Elsie cried reading it. Harry asked for another to send to his sister in Devon. A few weeks later, I found someone had left a little painted stone beneath the oak, her name on one side, a paw print on the other. It struck me then how dogs live on, not just in memory, but in legacy, in how we walk the world differently because of them, in how we love a little more deeply, grieve a little more honestly. They teach us how to be present, how to forgive, how to chase joy like a ball thrown just out of reach, and when they're gone, we carry them in every good thing we do. I began volunteering at the local shelter, just once a week at first. Walks, feeding, cleaning kennels. There was one old spaniel, Bertie, who reminded me of Molly in the eyes. Not the color or the shape, but the kindness. I'd sit with him sometimes, just quiet, both of us content. One of the volunteers asked if I'd take him home. I thought about it, but not yet. The love is still there, yes, but the wound too. It hasn't quite sealed. And I suppose I want to be ready to give a new dog all the heart they deserve. One day, maybe. For now, the hill is enough. The stories, the silence, the warmth of memory. Sometimes, on the first frost of winter, I walk up before sunrise. The world is hushed. The grass crunches underfoot. The sky turns from black to deep indigo, then to soft pink. And the view from the hill, well, it's nothing short of holy. I sit there, thermos in hand, coat pulled tight, and I whisper into the morning, "Still miss you, girl. Always will." And I swear the wind carries something back, gentle, warm, kind, like her. It's been 2 years now. Strange to say it out loud. 2 whole years without her. And yet there's not a single day she isn't with me. Some mornings I still hear her nails on the floorboards in my dreams. That gentle rhythm padding across the wood. I wake up expecting to see her curled by the hearth, but the fire's just embers and the rug is empty. Still, it doesn't hurt as much as it did. The ache is quieter now, settled deep like a stone worn smooth by time. It no longer shouts, it whispers. And in that whisper I find peace. Life goes on in Cotsbridge. The seasons turn. The hedgerows bloom and fade. Children grow up. New faces arrive in the village. Old ones pass on. The rhythm of the place, steady and familiar, carries on like the tide. And yet for me, everything changed. Losing Molly opened something in me. Not just grief, but grace. She taught me how to sit still with sorrow, how to be soft in a world that can feel so hard, how to find joy in small things, a shared biscuit, a muddy path, the tilt of the sun across a familiar field. I've learned since that the people who truly love animals, they feel deeper than most. It's because animals teach us how to love without needing words. They show us what it is to be patient, to listen, to trust without fear. Molly did that for me, and in return, I gave her everything I could. There's a small plaque now, beneath the oak on the hill. Someone from the parish put it there without telling me. Polished brass mounted on stone, it says, "In memory of Molly, the heart of Cotsbridge, loyal friend, joyful spirit, gentle soul, loved always, missed forever." When I read it for the first time, I cried like a child. Not because I was sad, though I was, but because someone else had seen her the way I did, because someone else had loved her too. That's the power of a good dog. They leave ripples. A few months back, I was asked to speak at the primary school. One of the teachers had read my little booklet and thought the children might like to hear about Molly. I was hesitant at first. I'm no storyteller, not properly. But I said yes. So there I was, in front of 30 wide-eyed children, telling tales of a dog who once stole a whole steak pie, who chased pheasants and fell into the river, who knew when you were sad and would nudge her nose into your chest until you smiled. They laughed, they cried, they asked if she had a favorite color. She liked red, I told them. Her ball was red, her blanket, her lead, even her collar. Afterwards, a little girl came up and said, "I think Molly was made of love." I nodded. She was. That day reminded me why stories matter. They keep the spirit alive. They connect us to one another, even across silence and time. And perhaps most of all, they remind us that love, true, loyal, enduring love, never really ends. A few weeks later, something happened. I'd been walking the hill, as always. The wind was strong that morning, sent the leaves scattering like confetti. When I reached the bench, I found someone sitting there, a young woman, maybe late 20s, with a rucksack beside her and a collie curled at her feet. We exchanged smiles. She patted the bench beside her. "Hope you don't mind," she said. "My dad used to bring me up here when I was small. He said this place was magic." "It is," I said, "especially if you've got a good dog with you." She nodded. "This is Bramble." The dog perked up at the name, ears twitching, tail wagging. She had the same softness in the eyes that Molly had, that quiet knowing. "She's a rescue," the woman said. "Had a rough start, but she's settled now. Loves it here." I looked out at the valley. The morning light caught the tops of the trees, painting them gold. "You know," I said, "my dog's buried just there beneath the oak." She looked over, respectful. "Was she good?" The best. We sat in silence for a bit. Bramble sniffed at the grass, then curled up again. After a while, the woman stood, brushed her coat off. "Well," she said, "thanks for sharing the bench. It's a lovely view." She started down the hill, Bramble at her side, and just as they reached the gate, she turned and waved. "Say hello to Molly for me, yeah?" I smiled. Always. These days, I do think more and more about time. Not in a morbid way, just reflective. How brief everything is. How we blink and a decade passes. I think of all the versions of me Molly knew. The grieving son. The quiet writer. The man who thought he'd lost everything, only to find he had more to give. She saw it all. Stayed through it all. That's what makes dogs different, I think. They don't care who you were yesterday, they meet you where you are, and they love you there, fully, fiercely, without reservation. And if you're lucky, they leave behind a better version of you than they found. I've been walking with Bertie lately, the spaniel from the shelter. I don't call him mine. Not yet. But he's taken to waiting by the gate in the mornings, and I've taken to filling 2 bowls instead of 1. We walk the hill together now. He's slower than Molly, more prone to detours. But when we reach the bench, he always stops. Sits. Waits as if he knows sometimes I speak to her still. Not out loud anymore, but in that quiet way of remembering. When the wind brushes your cheek or the robin lands on the fence post and you feel something stir deep inside you. Molly changed me. She made me softer, kinder, quieter in all the right ways, and for that, for every muddy paw print and every wag of her tail, I am endlessly grateful. So if you're watching this now and you've ever loved a dog or been loved by one, you know what I mean. You know the ache and the joy, the laughter and the goodbye. You know that a dog is never just a dog. They are memory made real. They are love, wrapped in fur and loyalty. They are the best of us. And when they're gone, they take a part of us with them, but leave behind something far greater, a story, a bond, a hill beneath an oak tree where the world feels whole again. Thank you, Molly, for every step, for every moment, for every quiet, beautiful day we shared. You were, and always will be, my best girl.